count my achievements, have to look up in the rafters for banners. Less of a dying breed, blame it on my ancestors. 2 steps ahead, I'm playing chess while you playing checkers. I have to go back and find. Yeah, hopefully nobody was watching that stream.
That's straight.
Well, I guess we restart and then what's up, Odie? So we'll do a quick recap. But so you just bought Drake tickets. Hi, Odie. Yes, you're a good boy. Under advisory from me, you asked me if it was going to be a good idea.
Yeah.
I told you it was a great idea. I ended up pulling the trigger. And what seats did you end up getting for it?
So first of all, I'm too old for floor seats, so I went with the ones. There's a row right behind the floor.
Right.
General admission, I think it is.
Yeah.
So you still get a good view of the stage, and it's like on the corner. So like you sort of get like two sides, like as a square platform. Yeah. 2 sides sort of. So
visually, you'll have a better view.
Exactly.
And you were saying you're getting pumped for the feature artist he's bringing right now.
Yeah. So because initially it was supposed to be Dirk. Like I like Dirk, right? Yeah, everyone like Dirk.
Yeah.
But they changed it. First, it was like a change, and I got worried because he postponed my show already.
Right.
And so when I got the notification from Ticketmaster, I was
like, here we go again.
Just W's in the chat. But I opened it up and it was like, oh, boom, Lil Durk's not there anymore. It's now Lil Wayne. I was like, perfect.
That's a big win.
Perfect. Like Lil Wayne and Drake were like my the YCMB, all that. That was like my jam back in high school, right? So,
and as you're saying, some of the shows get
Sexy Red. Some get Sexy Red, some get J. Cole.
Those people are losing.
Yeah. I mean, J. Cole.
J. Cole's nice.
Yeah.
But if you get Sexy Red versus Lil Wayne,
pissed.
You vex for sure.
Yeah. I mean, she have her own fan base, but for me,
yeah, it's not my jam either.
No for me though.
But yeah, that'll be fun.
Yeah, bro.
So we also were just diving into, now we have to restart this because I was streaming first instead of recording. Like
big lock.
Yeah. But we were just diving into where we first met and how that kind of pushed us into where we are in our careers now, and that was at the Source.
Mm-hmm.
So, and you were saying, I think when we first interviewed, that I was just visiting Canada.
Yeah.
I was like about to move back.
Yeah.
So I tried to do some interviews and came back.
But I knew the vibes are gonna be good. Like you guys know. Like when you go to a salesperson and they have like that slick look. That's how you pull up like all blacks, hair slick back. I'm like, all right, yeah. Hoop earring. I'm like, yeah. I don't care what this guy says. Like
he's gonna sell.
Yeah, he's gonna sell. So yeah, it was a fit from the beginning, which I was like cool. And then it just sort of just grew, right? Because you, Nathan, the whole crew was there, Osmond. So
the vibes were already good in the store, which was great.
Exactly.
And I was saying that I learned a lot. I think that helped me move into where I am with my career now, with just like selling against other competition, being the other stores. I mean, I'd worked other retail sales before, but at least now this was in tech and there was some bigger prizes at stake. I still went after all the stupid little speakers and whatnot, but like we had a competition store-wide, sorry, not store-wide, but nationwide for the Source for Google sales. And as soon as that thing popped up, I looked at Vello, I said, I'm winning that. I hope you know. And Vello's like, you realize that's like top 5 in the country, not like Ottawa or Ontario, Canada-wide. That's going to be tough.
Yeah, that's a big lift, though.
And I finished second in the country because nobody walked into that store. I didn't leave with something Google.
He was the attachment. He was the attachment king at that point.
That's right.
You come for batteries, you leave it at Google Home.
That's right. You got a phone, you didn't get a gift card. You got a Google Home. You won. Google Home.
Good times, though. Good times. What was it? Where did you guys go? You guys went to
New York.
Okay.
Yeah, New York. I sat like a couple seats down from Martha Stewart. Yeah.
Snoop Dogg was there?
No, Snoop Dogg wasn't there, unfortunately. Marquez Brownlee was there, though.
Okay. Yeah. MKBHD.
Yeah. Which was cool because I've watched hundreds of his videos, right?
Everyone. He's like, I think when it comes to tech reviews, he's the guy.
Yeah, right? For sure. Yeah. And like, I'll never get another opportunity to get into one of those events again. So it was very cool, especially as a big fanboy, to be able to be a part of the big, like half of the reason you get into tech is to be the first. You know, everybody wants to be like, oh my gosh, this this revolutionary thing. Like, you don't even know what this is. And I'm deep into it, you know? So like being able to be there for the reveal was very cool. And I took that definitely with me to the rest of my career. You know what I mean?
You deserve that win, dog. You deserve that win. If it was me, like I say, I liked Google. I was a big Google fan. but we had to part ways.
He got stuck in the Apple trenches. He needed better emojis.
It is. The girls started telling me they tired of texting.
He needed blue bubbles for the girl them.
Blue bubbles only.
Yeah, boy, but it is what it is. No, that was good. Like, I think I learned a lot from that experience in the source, and like, to be honest, it motivated me to stop being stuck in retail sales. Because I mean, you learned the hard way too. You got sick of the hierarchy bullshit that comes with working in retail, right? Like, the pressure comes to you, and for no reason. Like, you're in retail, dog. Like, it's not that serious.
Great is never.
Yeah, never. And then that trickles down to, like, I don't know. At some point, you get bored. You win the Google sales thing. I was top, I don't know how many months in a row for sales in the store, and I could see where I was in Ottawa, and then it's like, oh, now what?
You just plateauing. It's like, all right.
Yeah, I'm not making enough money to care about this, and I've already won all the achievements, so like, now what do we do? You know?
It's an endless battle. Like, there's never, the minute you hit that stage, that flag, it just moves, the goalposts move further. Further.
And we were in like sort of a bad era, because I hear stories about some of my other coworkers that started off in retail or the Source or Best Buy, and there used to be money in them sales. Like, it used to be legit. If you were a top sales guy, you could really make a killing. Right. But
100%.
Once we entered, the spiffs and the percent of margin you would get in the commissions was so low that, like,
it was definitely a good, if we had gotten into it maybe like in like 2-3 years, maybe 5 years. 5 years would have been a sweet spot.
Yeah. Yeah. It is what it is. I think that motivated me to, I mean, I was always interviewing at the Source, but like near the end of it, I was like, okay, I got to find something different. And I mean, so did you at some point, right? Like you hit your breaking point where like, screw this, man. Like,
you get tired of it, right? It's like when I say like good is never good enough, you just get tired of it, and it's like, all right, this ain't, like, I've showed what I can do.
Yeah. So well, and like you knew, and I think everyone at the Source knew you were a good manager. Like, you had good management skills, right? Yeah. And that at some point you realize, like, I can translate this elsewhere. I don't have to stick in this environment. I can take my skill set and I can move elsewhere. And like vice versa, I felt the same way. Like, okay, if I can do this here, even though, okay, it's not that impressive what we're doing, but the fact that I can jump in and just accelerate like that, I know I can take those skills elsewhere. And it just like is finding that money spot of like, where can I take what I am good at and make a ton of money off of it? Yeah. And like, I think we both,
they're both like, both of those skills are super transferable. So
right. It's all business at the end of the day, right? Like, I don't really care what I'm selling. I'm going to sell it.
Just make the money come in, dog.
There's a lot of people in Ottawa right now with Google Home sitting in the box carrying dust that do not need no Google Home.
Dusty.
But let me tell you, when they talked to me, they thought for sure they needed that product big time.
It is what it is, man. You got to do what you got to do. That's it.
For sure. So before I get into sort of what you're doing now and why I wanted to do the podcast with you, I want to base my interviews around giving the people an understanding of the person behind the job before going into that. So they kind of, you know, the personality comes through and has an idea of your background. And I think that gives people an idea of like some of the things that lead to how you get to whatever it is that you're doing, right? So if you can try and give like a breakdown of specifically your life pre-Canada. So growing up in the Bahamas, what that was like, schooling there, coming here for the first time, moving from where you started to Ottawa, that kind of thing.
Okay. So, all right.
Where to begin?
Get comfortable. So, I mean, it's, well, fast forward, like my life back home was island life is very cushy. Like, it's like you chill out, you get up late, you go to school, do what you got to do.
Island time is real.
Exactly. Island time is big. Like, I still run on it sometimes. That is not even funny. Like,
have to.
I miss it so much. But like I said, I went in school and jumped to high school. Got into the area where I did a lot of sports, volleyball, baseball, and one thing that really stuck was football. So
that's right, yeah.
In my last,
and that's strange for the Caribbean. Like, you don't see a lot of American football going on, right? So
not too much. So it's weird because I think even in that, like in the Bahamas, the national sport is cricket.
Right, yeah. So we play a lot of cricket in Cayman too.
Yeah. So did football. The school that I went to, Holland College, they did heavy recruiting from the Bahamas for both baseball, basketball, and football.
Really? Okay, that's interesting. I didn't know that. Why is that? Have they had prospects come out of Bahamas before?
Yeah. So there's one guy.
They got one guy. There's some good people in there. Let's get.
I swear. So okay, so they got two guys. So there's two guys, Phil and Demetrius.
Okay, shout out Phil and Demetrius.
Yes, sir. Catch you on the next side, East Coast. But Phil and Demetrius, they went over and they changed what Holland College football team looked like.
Okay.
Like they just destroyed.
And they just went there because that's where they chose to go.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, you don't have, a lot of the mindsets back home was, you stay back home, you don't get to grow.
Right, of course.
Right?
It's crab in the bucket, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So they took that opportunity, they went, and they just showed East Coast football like a whole different mindset. So after that, like the recruiting team was like, yeah, we have to recruit minimum 5 people from Bahamas for football.
That's cool.
Right?
That's cool that they paved that path because the smaller Caribbean countries don't usually get that. From my experience, like one of my biggest letdowns for my early life is that I didn't get to play college sports because I was in Cayman for it. And I mean, I got to do junior national teams type stuff, but I would have rather play college sports, I think. And the only people I see from Cayman that go off to play high-level college sports are people that get placed in high school in the States before they finish, right? And then they get scouted from there.
Because they're in the States already, right?
Right, but getting scouted out of Cayman is like next to impossible.
Yeah. So I think that was a big thing when the opportunity came because for the longest time I was in university back home and I was like, what's next? Where do I go next? And when that opportunity presented itself, it was like, okay, I need to go and I need to show out.
Yeah.
So they had that camp. Did what I had to do. It was me, three of my buddies. Well, not they're my buddies now, but they're my competition back home.
Okay.
And there was one guy from Freeport. And so
did you know them prior to going?
I only really knew them from the camps and playing football. So they were on opposing teams from me. They weren't on my team for football.
Okay. So you knew of them, but you didn't really know them. Okay.
Yeah. Personally, I hated them. Like that's a running joke in our friendship now. Is like when we first met each other the first time, we literally hated each other. It's like, all right, it's either you go to Canada or I go to Canada.
Yeah.
It's that mindset. But,
right. That's that crab in the bucket mindset,
sir,
though.
right?
That's what happens.
Instead of we could all win, it's like, yeah, I gotta win.
That's part of the Caribbean culture. I don't know what it is, but it always is this like, I gotta put you guys down so I can get up to the top. It's very strange, but
100%. But we all made it. So it was 5 of us. We went over, and so I went to school in PEI.
Right.
And when I went there for the first time, like you think of university, you see HBCSUs, you see big schools. Like even in Canada, you see like St. FX, you see Acadia. But going to just like a small like JUCO per se,
right,
was very different. Small town.
Was it like? Did you feel sort of culture shocked?
100%. Like I think the way that I drove into PEI, me and my dad, like we passed like a horse and carriage. And I was like, I don't know if we're in the right place. We're not in Kansas anymore.
Dad, did you pick right? Did you go to right turn? Because
honestly, so it was a culture shock. The first day that I was there, I was very I don't know if I wanted to be there the first day. I was just like this ain't my scene. Like this place look boring as hell.
Ain't no dance hall going on.
I swear, bro. Just like
you asking people who Vibes Cartel is, they say who?
Like Kenny Chesney.
Oh Jesus.
So it was hard. But a big part of it was finding those guys that I came over with. All of us were in the same bucket, right? Like we experienced in Canada for the first time, so we really
stick together. Yeah, for sure. That's how it works.
So that worked out perfectly. We made our bond. And we just got through college together, right?
Yeah.
After college, I did computer networking in college, but there was just like a lot of small-mindedness in PEI at the time I was there.
Okay.
So I didn't pursue that anymore because every opportunity that was there was like it just wasn't for me.
And were you at that time? Were you planning on staying in Canada, or were you thinking I'm going to take these skills and go back home?
I was 50-50. I wanted to stay in Canada long enough to get experience and build my own knowledge so I can take some of that back home.
Which I think is what most people we knew growing up would do, right? 100%. You leave the Caribbean, you try and gain as much experience as you can and bring it back home, and you have this sort of niche ability that you can now build back home. But the idea for most people is to come back at some point.
Yeah, exactly. So my plan was that, but I think after a while, it just came to a point where back home, the opportunity just wasn't booming anymore. So, you know, my parents, even, I think in my mind, I was still like, yeah, I'm still going to go home. I'm going to make it work. But when my parents told me, I was like, don't bother.
And that happens a lot too, unfortunately. That is the other side of the coin, is sometimes it's too small and there's not enough opportunity. So you kind of have to go where you can, right?
Yeah. So when my parents told me, hey, listen, like, this ain't it. Like, stay over there, do what you got to do, make the money. I'm like, okay, cool.
Especially getting your parents' blessing feels very like, okay, I'm doing what I'm supposed to do here.
Because you feel like you're leaving them in the first half, right? It's
right.
Like, well, I'm not there to help you guys out like you guys helped me when I was growing up.
Yeah.
But so once I got that, it was like, okay, cool. Put your head down and grind. Started working at the Source in Charlottetown. Yep.
Okay.
I was just associate. Then there was another location like an hour away. Their manager left for mat leave. So the DSM was like, hey, Revello, like, you do well as an associate. Do you want to try temporary manager? Did that. Killed it. Person came back from mat leave. They were like, hey, like, you can either put on big boots like Revello because he's killing it, or you could just give in your resignation. So,
damn,
right?
Cold world.
Honestly, bro, they did not care at all. And then what happened, I think a month after she came back from maternity leave, the opportunity to become the manager at my original store came back open. It was a bigger store.
Okay.
That I started at as an associate.
Yeah.
And I was torn because I was like, the same people who I came up as associates with, they still worked as associates. So I was like,
gotcha.
I have to go back as a newcomer and be their manager.
Yeah, that's hard.
Right? I'm like, I don't know how they're going to feel about that. But I just was like, you know what, whatever. Went in. A few people left. A few people quit. But I just was like, you know what, I came here to do what I have to do for myself. Killed that. Did like 2 years Leaders Club. So it's like the top 50 or top 100 managers in Canada. They get a little trip like for sales and stuff like that.
Yeah. I remember, yep.
So after I won that twice, the VP, she's always on the trip, or the VP is always on the trip. And so they asked me, they was like, hey, like, you're here again for the same small store. Do you want to grow? I'm like, oh yeah, I'm always about growing.
Like go to a bigger store?
Exactly.
Right.
I was like, there's nothing keeping me in PEI. So I was like, sure, yeah, give me whatever opportunity you got. So it was either Toronto or Ottawa. And so many people advised me. At first I was like, hey, Toronto. Like, that's a quick 3-hour trip.
It's the go-to, right? Yeah.
3-hour trip home,
that's
cheap
true
flights.
Too. Yeah.
But so much people advised me against it because they were like, hey, like, if you take a Toronto store, you will live there. Like, you're not going to go home. You're always going to be there doing paperwork, selling, setting up store. I'm like, okay, cool.
The grind is different too, right?
100% different. So I settled with Ottawa and came to the store, knocked out what I had to.
What month did you come to Ottawa?
That's a good question. I came to Ottawa at the end of summer. So it was like August.
Okay, so everything
September,
was blessed.
Yeah,
you're like, yo, Ottawa's nice. Damn, okay.
Yeah. But honestly, the winter came along and I was kind of worried. But if you could do a PEI winter, East Coast winter, Ottawa winters are nothing.
Really?
Bro.
Interesting.
I was, I think my first winter in PEI in Canada, my first winter period.
Yeah.
It was so bad. So I think school was closed for like 2 days. I lived on the 3rd story of residence and there were like snow drifts high. Like I could literally jump out the 3rd window and slide down. I was like, yeah. So
we living in a movie. What is going on here?
Come from the Bahamas to Canada. So that was like, once I went through that for 2 years, 3 years, 5 years in East Coast.
Yeah.
When I came to do this winter, it was like nothing.
Damn.
So
not most people would not say Ottawa winter is nothing. So I mean, I guess glad you were prepared for it.
Yeah.
And then what kept you in Canada? Just the opportunities were rolling through that way, and that's just kind of how things played out, or did you like Ottawa? Like how did you end up staying here till now? I
think in Ottawa was a lot more inclusive. There was more diversity in Ottawa versus Charlottetown. And I didn't feel like everywhere I went I would see the same people. Like I hate seeing the same people.
That whole small town. The whole reason you get out of the Caribbean is to like not have to deal with that.
I swear. So it's like when I was here, it was just nice to have. Like I could go somewhere, do whatever I had to do, see different things, different cultures, and find things. Like things were just at your fingertips.
Right.
Montreal 2 hours away, Toronto 4 hours away.
Yeah.
So
that's one of the big things I don't think people realize that I always preach about Ottawa is your ability to go to Montreal and Toronto and be in Ottawa. If you're in Montreal, Toronto's too far. And if you're in Toronto, Montreal's too far. So in Ottawa, you get the best of both worlds,
Exactly.
right? Like you can do weekend trips and stuff. So
So that was a big plus. That was a big plus for me for sure. And then, I think work just went well. I started making a life for myself. I started making money. You know, once you start making money, it's like no turning back. So
I tell you, when I came back here last, because I've gone back and forth from here to Cayman multiple times, right?
Mhm.
And when I came back here last, I had absolutely no intentions of staying. I think I told you that when we were working at the source. I'm like,
Yeah, it's just a
I'm getting a check and I'm getting back out. I'm going back to the heat.
Yeah.
But I landed in a position where my career was flourishing and I was starting to make money. And it's like, you got to take that trade, right?
That's what you got to do.
Run with the money for now and you'll figure it out later. But
100%.
do you think you have plans to go back to Bahamas full time ever? Or do you think you'll always, at a minimum, play a little back and forth?
I think if anything, I'd probably be like a snowbird,
Yeah.
right? Like in the wintertime, I'm not a big fan of winter.
Yeah.
I'm not good at winter sports.
You're telling me you can't ski?
Not at all.
I can see you on a pair of skates with a stick.
Y'all ever see Bambi? It's bad. So
Let me tell you something. If you ever see Revello Williamson coming down the hill at you, get out of the way because it's not going to end well for you.
Faster than a speeding bullet, folks. But no, I think snowbird will be the life for me. I think just getting out, coming. Yeah, I don't think like home will be nice. I have like all my family is home, right? So that's definitely reason to go home
For sure.
But the opportunity, if I find the opportunity,
You may go back home if you can.
maybe. But it'd have to be.
I think we're in similar positions. Like I have a hard time seeing myself full time in either place. I don't know how to stay just bolted down. I would love to live a life where half my time is spent there and half my time is spent here.
Yeah.
I don't know how realistic that goal is, but it's hard to imagine myself staying in either one like completely full time. You know, if I could avoid the winters and go there and come back and forth and avoid some tax.
Yeah. The tax man.
CRA, please turn your audio to mute.
You know, everyone in Ottawa works for the government. So.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah. I mean, that's sort of where I sit too. I like. It's also hard to be when you grow up in the Caribbean to live full time in the city is a big change. Like something feels missing in you. You know, there's that whole like everybody chills out on Sundays and goes to the beach and like you don't get that same. I don't know. There's something about mentally you just don't sit in the same place. And there's some cool stuff about being in the city too that you don't get back home. But it's very hard to balance.
It's like I notice a lot of times it's almost like there's too much going on and there's not enough going on at the same time.
Yeah.
Like the weekend comes along. Like let's say I'm in the Bahamas. A weekend for me looks like cool. I go to work 9 o'clock on Friday, clock out 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock. Go to happy hour, get some drinks, get ready to go out.
Everybody goes happy hour.
You know, do your thing. I don't want to come back home till 4. Saturday, chill out, maybe hit up the beach.
Yep.
Sunday, you know, mom or grandma cooking a big dinner.
You're always doing something, but you're not really doing something.
There's no pressure behind it, right?
Yeah.
Over here, it's like everything is pressure, though.
Like,
got to make money, got to pay the tax, man. Got to do this, got to do that. Like, chill out, dog. Chill out. Give me a break.
Going out is different too. Like there's a lot of preparation behind going out here and you got to think about Ubers and getting out through the cold and setting up and worrying about Velo ordering you 17 shots when you only planned on having one.
Listen, we are out to drink, all right? If you get me out of my house, especially in the cold, we drink it.
I have to take a serious mental preparation if I'm going out with Velo that there may be a time where I've had too many to drink and Velo's peer pressure is going to get to me and he's about to order me 7 shots just for his own personal entertainment.
But I promise you, I'll take the shots with you. If you need me to.
He'll take the shots with you and he may break your ribs later that night. Long story. But he definitely cracked one of my ribs. Pause.
I'll drop the videos later. It's
cool.
definitely different, but yeah.
Yeah, so all right. I guess we'll sort of jump into it. I've been saying welcome to the episode once we get into the meat of things. So welcome to episode 4.
The best one yet.
With your boy Velo.
Yes, sir.
The main reason that I brought you along for the interest of the podcast is to talk about the social media account that you run. So I think first and foremost, maybe if you just explain what the account is and what you do, and then I'll kind of pick around some other questions around it.
Okay. So I run a foodie lifestyle page, social media page on Instagram and TikTok. Reviews by Revello, for anyone who's wondering.
Plug. Shout out the plug.
Shameless. But so I think what it is especially when I first came to Ottawa, it's just I wanted to be able to connect with people. And I find that I've had some of my best connections over dinners, over group like gatherings, just with other people around.
Right.
And whether it's drinks, food, something that's relatable, right?
The atmosphere.
Exactly. And with Ottawa having just like a nice culture and diverse cultures around, it was good to be able to explore that. And through these different cultures, you know, you have a Chinatown, you have foods out, you have Middle Eastern food, you have Pakistani food, there's so many different types of food around.
Yeah, Ottawa's so diverse. You can find every kind of food, right?
Little Italy, wherever, right? So when I found that out, I was like, hey, listen, like I want to be able to share these experiences with other people.
Right.
And some people, they get nervous and like, I don't know if I like this type of food. I don't know if I'll be able to handle this type of food.
So you kind of want to be that doorway to,
Exactly.
I'll try it for you. Here's your experience.
Exactly.
And don't be so closed in.
Right? Because a lot of times, you know, a lot of the foodies that were around, you know, you see the food. You don't see anyone eat it. You just see them take a picture of it and that's that, right?
Yeah.
So just allowing people to see that aspect of it. Someone trying it, someone giving you their honest feedback of what they think about it as well, right?
Yeah, and I think that's why you're doing so well so far, is because you're relatable. Yeah. Like you can clearly tell there's no front there. You're just eating the food and you're telling them how it is, you know? Like you can tell when someone's putting a front on and not. And like, you know, you come across very relatable. So I think that's why it does well. Yeah. So based around that, how did you manage to get over the initial sort of doubt that comes with like, I'm going to start this brand new thing. I don't know anything about it, and I'm going to probably look pretty stupid. Yeah. How do you get over that like doubt that gets crept into your mind and just go for it and start?
So first of all, I don't think the doubt ever goes away.
Oh, you still think that?
even now, I'm like, sometimes I put the video together and I'm about to post it, and I'm like, people might hate this. After like 100 videos. Right?
I hate that. I understand. I know what you're talking about, and I hate that. Every time I ever get, just on my personal account, whenever I go to post a story or something, I'm like, oh, people might think this is lame. I try and check myself immediately, like, who cares?
Yeah.
Who actually cares? You know, like, just do it.
Yeah. So it really comes back down to what you're doing it for. And so with me knowing that I'm doing it to connect to people, if this is up your alley, cool. If it's not, cool. Like, I'm not here to force things down anyone's throat. But that sort of solidifies it. And then, you know, from time to time, even when I started, I think what gets you over that is like you get validation from a lot of people.
Right.
You know, people message you, say, hey, like, I love the way you did this, or so glad you checked the space out. Like, or, you know, you have people go and try it. People try it, try the foods, say, thank you for telling me about this place. So small things like that, like small signs of validation from the other people saying, like, we like what you do. Like, you know, keep doing it.
Yeah. So I guess there's a mix of like you wanting to do it for social interaction and getting the social interaction, having validation for people that it's good, and there's a bit of purpose in there that like you doing this because you enjoy it. And I guess that mixed bag of return is what allows you to be like, this is worth doing.
Yeah, like you have to start first and foremost, or you always have to start with knowing why you want to do it.
Right.
Like if that's not there, like I've seen so many people start it because they're like, oh, well, I just want to make money.
Yeah, if it's just for money, it's never going to work. And I think that's relatable for the podcasting too, right? We were talking about this off camera that like, if I was doing this just for money, I would have quit this shit from the first episode because man, there's a lot of work. But like, I enjoy deep conversation. Like that's what I live for. Realistically, I love learning about things, and education is so important to me. So I like the opportunity to dive into things for my own personal gain, but also to give other people an avenue to learn things that they may not be able to learn regularly, right? So like I felt like social media and how it grows for a lot of people is not something they understand. Yeah. And I don't even fully understand. I'm learning as I go with this, but like as I'm sure you are, there's a lot of stuff that goes behind the scenes that people don't realize, like someone like yourself who's got a number of followers now, but still feels that self-doubt.
Yeah.
I don't think people realize that big accounts still think about like, oh, should I post this?
Still
Or
feel it.
are people going to like this? You know, like that's just all
Still
part
feel
of the game, right?
Yeah.
And
once you have that, like that mission statement behind why you did it, and you see yourself, like you'll see yourself start to get more creative, you'll get more comfortable, and you sort of carve out that path as you go along, right? Like you learn what works, you learn what people like, you learn what you like,
right.
and then it just becomes fluid.
Well, you know what? I think like a part of that too, that I've always tried to kind of live my life around, and I've more recently found more information behind the science of it. I was just listening to a podcast from, Andrew Huberman.
Mm-hmm.
You've heard of him? He's a neuroscientist or a neuroscience professor at Stanford.
Mm-hmm.
And he runs a podcast a lot about how the brain works. And he just did one with, do you know who David Goggins is?
Heard the name. I don't know exactly.
So Goggins is this guy that was 300 plus pounds.
Mm-hmm.
He had busted up knees. And one day he just decided like, I'm sick of being this guy. And I don't want to say the numbers, but I think he lost around 160 pounds in a very short amount of time, like 4 or 5 months, something very small. And he since then has just taken on extreme athletic achievements to just show you that like average people can do extraordinary things if you just stop basically being a bitch.
Yeah.
Like just stop allowing your mind to stop you from doing
Yeah.
stuff. Like you just have to constantly tell yourself, like, what's the problem here?
Yeah.
You know, you're creating your own walls.
Yeah.
And like, I think one of the things he became a Navy SEAL. He worked in the Army. He worked at, I think, all the different quadrants of Army.
Okay.
He broke the single day world record for pull-ups. The man did 4,000 pull-ups in 24 hours.
Then go on.
If you gave me 24 years, I'm not doing 4,000 pull-ups. You know how hard that is?
Shout outs to you, big dog.
And he's just like, for all intents and purposes, he's an average dude, you know, and that's kind of his message is just like, yo, if you get out of your own way, you can do so much. And where I was going with this is that he was on the Andrew Huberman podcast, and he brought to light that there was some new studies that were just done by a certain area of the brain called the anterior mid-cingulate cortex. And that part of the brain they studied, and the more you did things that you didn't want to do or you were uncomfortable doing, the more that area of the brain grew and the more you were capable of doing those things.
Yeah.
And the cool part about it too is that like the less you did them, like even if you had grown it, if you started to stop, it shrinks. It doesn't stay. So having this mindset of like continually doing things that you're uncomfortable with or that you don't want to do allows you to do more of those things. So like where I kind of tying this back into is like as you keep posting and as you keep realizing that wasn't a big deal. Like I created this whole thing in my head that doesn't exist.
Yeah.
It builds your confidence to be able to keep doing not only that, but other things in your life that seem impossible.
100%.
Right. And I think like some people just get it and some people don't.
Yeah.
Like when I'm put in front of something that seems absolutely impossible, I'm like, no, I can do it. And everyone's like, you're crazy. And I'm like, no, I can do it. Because I've been there before and I keep trying to put myself in those positions, even if I don't have to.
Yeah.
And that's, I think the important part that people don't really think about is like, you have to do it on purpose. It's not just going to come knock on your door. You have to put yourself in uncomfortable spots.
Positions, yeah.
Like, you know what I mean?
Risk taking is a big thing. Like that's a huge part of it, right?
I'm always super hard in preaching that risk taking. So I was kind of curious as to how it works for somebody else. Like, how do you did you view starting this as like a big risk and something outside of your comfort zone?
Yeah. I mean, I think like I'm not saying that risk is a foreign thing to me, because I've definitely taken a lot of risks just moving from home, period.
Yeah, just correct, for sure is a big risk.
But a lot of people feel uncomfortable times stepping out.
Yeah.
You know, you're putting yourself on
display.
Yeah, bro. Like that's the internet. Like, that's big. And so, you know, you do feel a little bit nervous putting yourself out there at first, but like you say, after a couple times you do it, and once you have that base of why you do it, it just becomes
there's just something internal that you've passed through. And I think, you know, like in like the general society, a lot of people that gain this sort of feeling that don't really realize what they're doing is travelers. Because traveling is very scary, especially if you do it on your own, right? So like people that just say, fuck it, I'm going to go on the plane and I'm going to go see what happens. And then they realize how great it was that they did that thing. They're building this same thing in their life because they're going, man, if I did that, like I
Yeah.
can go start something crazy. And like you moving from Bahamas to PEI, I have the same sort of feeling. Moving to Cayman completely changed my life just on the fact that I moved countries and lived somewhere else. That just gave me the knowledge of like, yo, you can start anywhere.
100%.
You're not stuck in your small town. Like you can do whatever you want.
Yeah, everyone goes through those motions, right? Like I think of, so at first when I started my page, I did all my reviews from home. Right? Like I didn't do anything outside.
You weren't comfortable.
Right? I was like,
right,
Uber
right.
Eats, deliver the food to my house. Like I don't want any
I was
interaction,
over
right?
at the
So the
lying
first,
to the people now.
the first time I went and had to actually film outside, bro, like I had my tripod and I was like just shaking. I was like, holy, like I didn't know what to do. People were
But you
looking
did
at me. Yeah, bro. People were looking at me. People like give me these weird stares, but now I do it and I'm like, I don't even care. Like,
Yeah.
Here's what it is. Like I'll be sitting right next to someone. I'm like, you want in on it? Like,
But that comes with, building the confidence, and that starts somewhere like moving countries, and then you just build on top of that. And I feel bad for people who never really maximize their potential and figure that out, because it's right there.
yeah.
They just don't.
That once you take that first step, right?
Yeah. It's,
You always say to yourself, it's not that bad. Once you do that, it's like, oh, that wasn't that bad.
and every time you do it, it becomes, and it's just funny that that's not just a philosophy. It's literally scientifically a fact that your brain is growing your ability to feel like you can do those things.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what else you'd have to hear to be like, man, I just got to do tough shit.
Yeah.
That's why ice baths work, right?
Yeah.
Because it's not
Not
just
for me. I don't know. But for other people, sure.
I do other tough shit,
Yeah.
but not ice baths.
Not ice baths.
But the point is, like, yeah, there's health benefits to it, and that's great. But it's the fact that nobody wants to get in that ice bath. And if you keep getting in that ice bath, you just keep telling yourself every day, like, whatever else is in front of me is not as bad as that ice bath.
Yeah.
And I got my ass in that ice bath.
Yeah.
So what is this,
Yeah.
What is this small problem in front of me? It's nothing.
100%. You just got to put yourself out there and just do it.
Yeah, it's all part of the game, right? So what do you think are maybe some things that people don't realize that go on behind the scenes of either shooting or preparing for or building a social media account?
I think shooting is easy. Shooting is the easy part.
Okay.
The hard part is building. You have to find your ideal audience. You have to find what you're gonna promote. You have to find how you're gonna do it. And
how do you do those things?
yeah, but like so I think it was it Mr. Beast? I don't like Mr. Beast for too much.
That's not just
yeah. But one thing he did say is that when you get to 100 posts, when you put 100 posts out there, then you have a better idea of where you're going with it.
Right. Everything in between is just trial and error, right?
Trying to figure it out.
They say something along the lines of like, to become an expert in something, you have to put in your 10,000 hours, right?
Yeah,
And I think it's the same idea, right?
yeah.
You can't expect to know what you're doing until you've put in that certain amount of work.
100%. Like you can't put out 10 posts and be like, oh, this is failing. Like
Yeah.
I think it was like 6 months before I got to 1,000 followers.
That's
6
pretty
months.
good.
Yeah, it wasn't bad. But like before that, I was ready to give up so much time.
Yeah, I can imagine.
But it was like you have barely started.
Yeah.
Like you have not done anything yet.
Yeah.
So once you have to just put, like a lot of times people say, put your head down and grind. You just keep on putting out different types of content. And you have to be vigilant to what resonates with people and what doesn't.
Yeah.
So me personally, I know.
So what did you do to research that for yourself?
So like I did carousel posts. I did
What's
reels.
a carousel post?
So that's just pictures. So
Okay,
static
right.
pictures, right. So I did carousel posts. I did reels, so videos.
Yep.
I did videos without my face. I
Okay.
did
Right.
videos with me talking.
Okay. Because you're ugly, so
Yeah,
just in case.
relax. The people say otherwise. No, the people say otherwise because
I can check the DMs after this. We're gonna check.
So anything that didn't have my face or didn't have me talking flopped.
Okay.
So I was like, okay, cool.
I think people like to see who they're viewing.
Exactly, right? And I think it was a different scene. Like people are there for that different foodie page.
Yeah.
They yeah, sure, they'll see the food, but they want someone talking behind it. They want to see someone's face. They want to be able to connect with someone, right?
You want to to attach as a fan, you kind of have to know the person. And if you can't put a face to the person,
It's very hard.
yeah.
Very hard. So that was one of the things. Another thing that I did was you like a lot of times in my stories, I make use of like those features like the polls, the questions,
Right.
and I don't do it just for doing its sake. I do it to get answers.
Right.
Like I'll poll, hey, like what do you guys prefer to see? Do you guys prefer to see Caribbean food, or do you guys prefer to see Canadian food, or like local restaurants, or like?
Well, it's smart because you're already getting a pre-validated answer that people
Exactly.
want to see this.
Exactly.
Right.
So I think it was one day. It was like, when I was trying to figure it all out, it was like, do you guys just want to see food? Do you guys just want to see me do whatever?
Right.
Or do you guys just want to see things? You know, like, do you want to see me travel? And so you get that information. Like, people don't use these tools well enough.
Yeah.
Sometimes they do it just for like people to engage.
They are really good.
Right?
Just from the beginning stages of using them, the analytics that come through are impressive.
100%. So actually taking that, and then once you get those answers, you know, you pull one or two people and you have conversations. So I have lots of conversations with my followers. Like, I don't think anyone could tell you there's probably a message unanswered. I don't think. I always have conversations. I'm like, hey, like, what brought you here? What do you like around
Poll
the city?
coming up. Have you reached out to Revello and not?
Hey, it might come late. It might come late. The answer might come late, but it's coming. Don't worry about it.
It's on the way. It's loading. It's in my outbox.
The carrier pigeon is on its way. But no, you just gotta have those conversations, right? Like,
yeah.
You're like, I do this because I enjoy doing it, but I also want to make sure that the people who are following me, they're enjoying it as well.
Right.
Like, I'm not a selfish creator.
I'm
not saying I don't know anyone who is, but at the end of the day, like, you have to take that information.
You could do things more your way if you wanted to, but you're tailoring it to what the audience likes.
Yeah. So it's like you could only grow so much if you focus on yourself. Hey, like, this is why I do this, or this is why that. It's like, no, like,
yeah.
People want to see what they want to see.
Fair enough. So can you explain a little bit about, we've already talked about this off camera, but for the audience, what is entailed when you do an Instagram boost or an ad revenue piece with social media? Like, what are the steps? What do they provide for you, and what you got out of it on your first use of it?
So I think, like, what it looks like the first time you use it versus like the third or fourth time, it'll look a lot different. But that's another reason how you find out who your target demographic is, who your ideal client is. You find that type of stuff out because in that whole rundown, you know, they ask you which areas do you want to put it to? Which demographic do you want to put it to? You want to go male, female? Like, does it even matter? Do you want to go Ontario or do you want to go Canada?
Right.
You know, all of those different things, it sort of pushes you out to different clientele. And then at the end of the day, once you let that run for a week or whatever, you end up seeing who resonated with stuff more, who interacted more, who followed, from where they're from, whether they're from.
You're seeing what stuff is sticky and what stuff is just sort of superficial that might go away.
Exactly. And then you also put out, when you do those ad boosts, you put out, I think they give you options to say, do you want people to just follow your page? Do you want them to visit a certain link? Do you want them to message you?
What's your goal?
What do you want from this itself, right? So when you see what happens, whether you put out a certain ad and you get more messages, or you put out a certain ad and you actually get more followers, you take that information and you sort of break that down again.
Right.
You say, okay, cool. Like, I put this ad out and the followers that came, a lot of people like this older post that I had. A lot of people only like the post that I put an ad boost on. So it's like, you also get that information if your page is interesting or is just that one post interesting. Right.
So in other words, you're kind of re-niching down every set of information you're getting. Okay, I've narrowed it down to like people like reels and people like this kind of food and people like this. And then the next time you can take only that subset and then narrow that back down until you've got like a pinpoint.
Exactly. Right.
Gotcha. Okay.
So I don't like, I there's a lot of myth around and I honestly don't know if it's true or not. Like, I've always been a little bit shy to use it a lot. Like ad boost. I think I've probably only ad boost, like post boost, maybe.
Is that because like you feel some sort of like almost embarrassment that like you're cheating the system?
No.
Okay.
I don't like honestly, I encourage people, especially who's first starting, because how else are you supposed to get out?
Yeah, you need to reach somehow.
Right? I just need people to see my stuff. Yeah. I know once people see my stuff, they're going to like it.
Yeah, you believe in the quality.
So you just need to get it out there. And if that's ad boosting, but I know like I was always worried. I'm like, okay, well, does the algorithm think that I thrive on ads? And so now they're only going to push they're going to water down my content and not push it out as much.
You just have to in a dark room say to your phone, I don't need ads. I don't need ads. It's listening.
But I mean, it's just like, it's always that gas, right? Because at the end of the day, every creator will tell you the algorithm does what it wants.
Of course.
You don't know the algorithm. Like, it's like.
You have to do your best to play the algorithm game. That's the only way you're going to produce, but there's not a perfect science to what's happening.
Yeah.
Right.
But ad boosting, not at all. Like, I don't want anyone to think that ad boosting is cheating. Like, especially if you just starting, because there's no other way you're going to get out there.
Yeah. It's not like, I just feel like there's maybe a taboo around it because it kind of feels like faking streams kind of thing. Like the numbers are more than they should be because blah, 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 blah. But it's at the end of the day, you're just trying to put your stuff out there. Right.
100%.
And people are not going to like or follow if it's not good.
Yeah.
So, you know, you can have empty views.
Exactly. I could put something up. If people like it, they like it.
Yeah.
If they don't, they don't. Like, that's really all it is. Just to put it in people's view. And either you learn that people don't like this, or you learn that, hey, I need to make more of this because people actually do like this, right?
Right.
So,
and I think, like you said, like a lot of people get halfway there, and it's sad because either the passion doesn't carry them or they just lose belief in themselves. But that's just the process.
Yeah.
Like the process is long and hard and pause. It just is what it is, right? Like, and unfortunately, so many people just don't understand that the wall is actually not that far. You're right about to breach through it, and like you give
up.
Yeah. And it's right around that corner.
Yeah.
You just have to keep going, and it's unfortunate that a lot of people end up quitting there. And
it's hard because it's like you have that, but you also have a lot of you have a lot of bullying at the same time.
Sure,
right?
yeah.
Like, who do you think you are? Like,
I've had people say, no one's going to listen to your podcast. That shit's going to be stupid. What do you have to say anyways? You know, like.
Get wrecked.
But like, that, I mean, at least for me personally, I've heard those people my whole life.
Yeah.
I'm a small guy who's an athlete, right? Like, every turn I get, you don't play basketball. You can, whatever it is, right? Like, I've tuned those people out for so long, it doesn't bother me. But I think for the average person who hasn't gone through something like that, I think that would seriously affect them. I think most people would be like, well, then I guess I'm not going to do this, you know?
Everyone has that, what is it? Imposter syndrome? That's
for sure.
Like, I feel
Imposter syndrome sucks.
Yeah, bro. It's like, am I really? Yeah. Just don't. It's going to come.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, just think back to why you're doing it.
I think that's important to why you need to be passionate about what you're doing, because without that passion, it's really easy for that to get to you.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're passionate about it, you'll just be like, whatever, I don't care. I actually don't care if it does well. I'm just doing this for me and like I enjoy it. Then it's way easier to tune those things out. So I think back to what you said before, like if you don't have a passion for it, it's just not going to work itself out. You have to really enjoy what you're doing.
100%. Like I don't like, even I think at the beginning, a lot of times too, it was I would put a post out and the views would be low, but I didn't really care because I knew that people would be coming to me and they would want to have a conversation about this food.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, that's all I want to have. I want to have conversations with people about food. I want to get to learn about people. I want to get them to learn about me. So it's just like.
And is the background for you on that more tied into culture, or do you specifically really just enjoy the food?
I enjoy the food. I love food. I ain't gonna lie. I ain't gonna lie to you all. I love food. But the stories you get from it is a plus.
Right.
Is a plus. I love trying new things and new foods, but
like, I mean, my question was more like, do you enjoy finding out about the cultures via the food, or do you just enjoy the food?
I think the culture is behind the food.
Okay.
Yeah. That's definitely a plus, right? Yeah, I think it's a little bit of both.
Bit of both.
Yeah.
So another question I had for you was, you know, once you start getting really rolling, and I mean, I'm already experiencing this a little bit, not really, but once you get rolling and you've put out a number of posts and whatever, do you feel like you get like a writer's block type of on your building of content? Like, okay, I've done whatever 15 restaurants now, and I've kind of tried each one of the cultures. Like, what am I gonna do next? Do you hit that like content block?
I don't know. Yes and no. Yes and no. For me, I don't like. I think I did it at the very beginning.
Okay.
But at this point now, I don't, because it's
like, you don't feel like, oh, I've done every pizza place. You feel like you've got to.
Oh, there's always something new opening.
Okay.
And I feel like like food is is nice in that way, because there's so much different types of something.
Right.
Even if there's like, listen, there's like a million shawarma places in Ottawa.
That's true.
But am I gonna try all? Probably.
Absolutely.
Exactly, right? So I don't think I get a writer's block, as well as I try to like mix, because I like lifestyle content as well as food,
Right.
as well as laughs. So like you'll see like posts like, hey, like I a lot of people have seen the posts like just joking around, like oatmeal cookies are better than raisin and
Yeah,
all
yeah,
this
yeah.
stuff, right? Like just stuff like that, just to keep the laughs going. And when you mix that with food, you never really run out. And like you take some of those trending little memes and what's not, mix it in there. It's always some type of content to put out in some form.
Plus, you can travel and stuff too, right?
Exactly. Right? Like I'm always going home. Like I travel around Canada, so just pulling things from there as well is nice. People just like to see. I've learned that people like to follow Revello for like what Revello does.
That's the
right?
goal at the end of
So-
the day, right? Is people enjoy you, and then you can kind of tailor that to however you please. I'm sure at some point, if you got big enough, then you can pivot into not just food. You can do reviews of other things. Travel maybe is probably one that kind of fits in that area.
100%.
Things like that. So I guess like for me, the ultimate goal would be like people enjoy what I have to say, and then I can talk about a plethora of things.
Yeah.
And maybe turning it into a video content type stuff where it's not just podcasting.
Yeah.
But again, these are like long-term goals. But obviously that's what comes along with creating a fan base, right?
Yeah. You want to, like, for me, I'm trying to make myself the brand.
Right.
Right. And then you do that for yourself. And like at the end of the day, I think it'll go on forever. People like stories.
Sure,
so like
yeah.
if there's somewhere where for someone to listen about someone, I think there's always going to be someone there.
Yeah, I've been a big like YouTube watcher for a long time, and I especially like the people who aren't huge.
Yeah.
Like the random person that's just going through their day. I'm like, yo,
Yeah.
this is cool. Like
Exactly.
getting insight into someone who's clearly real and not putting it on for like show or whatever is cool.
Yeah.
So I think I base a lot of what I'm trying to do around that. And like on the flip side of that coin, I had this conversation, I think it was yesterday, with somebody about how like the Paul brothers, for instance, are doing, like Logan Paul has his prime and he's wrestling in the WWE and Jake Paul's boxing, whatever. The moral behind those stories is that like if you build a big enough fan base behind you and you become the brand and people just enjoy you, you can do or sell
Whatever.
anything.
Yeah.
You can make a sports drink or you can be a boxer. I mean, obviously there's work that comes into being a boxer, but they can sell any type of merch they want. They can create a sock brand and it will sell millions because people enjoy them and are fans of them. So the importance is really building the brand of yourself and creating a fan base, and then you can really do whatever you want with it. But that's the business marketing goal of everything is like get people to enjoy you.
Yeah, for sure. So that's the biggest move. That's the smartest move to do, because like you could pivot and go to wherever you need to go. So
do you ever see your food reviews specifically becoming to a level where like a Keith Lee, where like, oh, Vello's in the store, give him 6 more, and
I don't know if I want that power. Like that's a lot of power. Like I think I don't.
Sound kind of nice. A couple extra beef patty every time.
Exactly. I mean, like I feel like I get like everyone I meet food wise, like they treat me really well, which is nice. But I don't know if I'm not thinking about it too much, I'm gonna say yes. I'm gonna say yes. I'm gonna say yes. I think everyone wants that, to feel like they have that pull like that.
I could see it becoming like a local celebrity type thing where like people are like, oh man, this guy's gonna give an honest review about, how like the Dave from Barstool Sports, have you seen him do his pizza reviews? Like people respect people respect that he has credibility, that he's gonna give his legit honest answer. He's gonna be tight on the review for his, that's his niche, right? And people are like, yo, I want you to come review my shit even if you say it's not good. I appreciate that you're gonna come out here and do this honestly, And like I could see it coming to a point here where people are like, oh, you know what, that's that guy who does really good reviews in Ottawa, like we want him to do our store because it's good for people to have an idea and for them to get the feedback,
I wouldn't be against that. I definitely would want that. Like I think the only side that scares me is if I run into I hate running to somewhere bad, like somewhere that has bad food. Like I haven't really run into somewhere yet that has terrible food. Maybe one place, but we're not dropping. We're not dropping no names.
You're gonna get some Little Italy mobsters
Right?
coming after
Exactly,
you. Wait,
bro. It's
about
like-
my food, boy.
I just feel so bad, like downing somebody, but there's a reality of it, right? Like there's credibility. I'm not gonna say
Yeah.
the food's good if it ain't good.
You don't want to send your followers somewhere that's not good, and then you lose credibility,
Exactly,
right?
right? So, but yeah, I think I would like that.
So.
I wouldn't be mad at that. I wouldn't be mad.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
All right, bro. Well, that's pretty much all my questions. So appreciate you coming out here.
Yes, sir. You know what's
Hopefully you
going on?
continue to go, and I'll obviously tag you up,
Yeah, boy.
get you some clips, and yeah, appreciate you
Yeah.
coming out.
Not a problem, dog. Yo,
Boom.
listen, follow Revello, Reviews by Revello. I ain't gonna let y'all down, right?